and the disruptors behind it. We talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture with the rogues who create them every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on Facebook.com/Rogue Wave Podcast. Download our podcast immediately following the live stream wherever major podcasts can be found, or go to Rogue Wave Podcast, that's wave without an E, to subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spreaker as well. Subscribe to us on Spotify. Really helps us if you can go in and do that. Rogue Wave Podcast is part of the Rogue Matter Network, a new digital comic company or content company providing programming and entertainment you can't find anywhere else like Rogue Wave Podcast. Our official launch is coming in October, but right now our listeners can get in the ground floor. Go to roguematter.com, enter your email address for exclusive access to our website before anyone else gets to see it. There's going to be a ton of content on there, some of it by, well, both of us. And so without further ado, join the movement. Go Rogue. Go to roguematter.com. I am your host, Michael Dolce, as always, joined by my cohort in crime, Mr. Hassan Godwin. How you doing, sir?
I reject the title of disruptor.
No, you're not a disruptor. You play it. You play it by the book.
Oh, so you're the disruptor, and I'm
every single time. I am also lying.
Fair enough.
Couple of announcements. Plan 59 from Outer Space. It's a Kickstarter that myself co-created with James Massia from Dren Productions, section of the Dren Productions Kickstarter page. Goes live September 8th, so we will hype that up starting next week. And also, CromCon. That's this weekend. It's a virtual con hosted by Pops Van Sant. Happy birthday, by the way. He'll have me, and if I can wrangle Hassan to come on as well, we will do a virtual half hour from 1:30 to 2 p.m. September 6th. Go to the Facebook page, look up Comic Related Madness on Facebook, and you can have access. It's a free convention. And basically, you're just going to listen to us talk for 30 minutes. So, I mean, what better way to spend a Sunday than that? All right. Hey, wait, actually, because Rogue Rage is is a bit of a downer. October 30th, Hassan. Did you see the announcement? The notification?
No, I did not.
Mandalorian season 2.
Oh, October 30th. Wow. All right. Well, That's like 2 months away. So
October is actually it is, but it's 1 month really. We're at the
we have the entire month of September and then the entire month of October.
I know, but it's not as far as you think it is. You know, like it's kind of like right around the corner.
In some ways, it's right around the corner, and in some other ways, it's like it's 8 weeks away.
Yeah, no. So I'm very much looking forward to that, and we will
that's going to be good.
Dive more into that as it goes along. Unfortunately, we start off with our Rogue Rage. Well, not unfortunate that it's Rogue Rage. All the rage in the pop culture world, but the unfortunate news, which kind of came unexpectedly, not just kind of, was very unexpected. Black Panther star Chadwick Boseman passes away at the age of 43 following a 4-year battle with colon cancer. Hollywood mourns him. Kevin Feige, kind of wrote... his statement, Chadwick's passing is absolutely devastating. He was our T'Challa, our Black Panther, and our dear friend. Each time he stepped on set, he radiated charisma and joy, and each time he appeared on screen, he created something truly indelible. He embodied a lot of amazing people in his work, and nobody was better at bringing great men to life. He was so smart and kind and powerful and strong as any person he portrayed. Now he takes his place alongside them as icons for the ages. Marvel Studios family deeply mourns his loss, and we are grieving tonight with his family. That was Kevin Feige. Many more obviously posts were spread on social media. People's immediate reaction was shock, and it was look, nobody wants any icon that we've kind of grown up with or grown alongside for us, right? In our case, we're right in the same wheelhouse age-wise as Chadwick, to pass away. But it is more crushing when it's A, unexpected, and B, at such a young age, right?
Yeah, I really don't really have, and I'm not saying this to be obstinate. I don't really have any words for it.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, I'm beside myself about it. And it's a typical turn of events where you see someone post about it. There's always that first person who heard about it first and posted, and then and so you have that window of, okay, this is just obviously a hoax, or this is obviously some kind of mistake, and then it starts to ripple, and then you see like 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 posts from friends and families, and you're like, oh man, this must be real. And I did the last 2 times I saw him publicly, I did wonder if he was not well.
I know.
Because he looked really, really, really frail. And, you, like a lot of people have said, you just kind of hope that he's, okay, he's filming something and he's got to,
that happened actually, right?
That
happened 2 months ago when my co-creator on Plan 59, James Massia, texted me. He's like, hey, look at this picture of Chadwick. And I go, must be filming something. Like it wasn't even like, I was a shrug. It didn't even blink. I was like, nah, I'm sure he's fine. I mean, look how healthy he is. There's no way,
Yeah.
But similar for us, right? In the comic book industry, we had Michael Turner, right? Michael Turner was someone who on the outside appeared always very healthy. And even when he talked about beating cancer, he obviously went to remission a couple times and came back. I mean, he always looked, even the last time I saw him at the convention, he was walking tough. Like it was tough for him to walk. I remember that, but he was out of Wizard World Chicago and he was there and he still had the smile on his face. He died, I think, at 37. And you just don't equate someone who is so vibrant and so full of life with having something inside them that's slowly taking them away from us. So it is definitely a shock.
Someone so culturally, to play this card, to someone so culturally important,
Yeah.
I remember just being astonished during Infinity War,
right,
when they went to Wakanda, and I remember just the audience reaction to, Black Panther had come out, and Black Panther came out and did extremely well. Just dominated the box office when it came out.
Yeah.
But then to see that's that his character and Wakanda in and of itself was a crowd favorite, even while watching the third Avengers movie, which is the gold standard of the entire MCU, it was no small thing. It was a pretty big deal, So I was looking forward to many more iterations of that to come, and I'm sure, I don't want to be morbid about anything. I'm sure Marvel will do it tastefully and find a way to continue on. But it's
too, and this is the one, what you're about to say, and I'll let you finish in a second. But the funny thing is that what you just said, had the immediate reaction on social media. Of course, who's going to play him now? And then you had the immediate, the immediate counter reaction. How dare you? He just died. But it calls into question the life we are living right now, the celebrity life we are living right now, where you have immediate reactions and you can post them so the world can see them. I'm not one of these people that actually will attack anyone that immediately says, well, who are they going to cast now? Gee, I wonder who they're going to cast. Because, look, I get the respect factor. Don't get me wrong. he had literally, the announcement had just happened, and I do get that. So yes, I personally would never go and start speculating, 3 hours after the news breaks. I get it. But at the same time, celebrities are people that we all kind of feel like we know, but we don't really know them. We don't, they're not, and look, they're actors. Okay, forget even celebrities. They are actors playing a role. So to many, they're not thinking that Chadwick Boseman died. They're thinking, oh crap, Black Panther died. And so it's, I don't begrudge anybody for wondering that or speculating that. Again, I would not personally go on so soon and say it. I do think there is a modicum of respect, but at the same time, we live in a weird world that we feel as if these actors or these characters, are ours, right? I mean, we have some sort of ownership on it, and there's a, it's just a different kind of reality to where we can publicly go on and say that. But sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, I was gonna say something to the effect of it not being too cool about people talking about how to replace him. But anyway, that's where I didn't plan that.
It's fine to have that opinion too, because like I said, I personally, the first thing I just did was RIP, and I posted it on social media because I thought it was terrible and it was just sad and it was awful. I personally, yes, part of me is like, they're gonna have to recast him, but my mind didn't immediately go to that, nor did my fingers immediately go to that, on my phone or my computer to be like, gee, I wonder who they're gonna post, who's gonna be there now. Like, look, I get it, but at the same time, I think these kind of things register different for different people. And to some, it's where there's an actor that just passed away, or to some, there's what's Marvel going to do? Because Marvel is my world right now, and Black Panther was so important.
That it's all fair. If it's all fair, it's all fair. So, like, if it's all fair that someone would speculate, it's all fair that people would hate the speculation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is what it is. It's unfortunate. It is what it is. It's just another thing for us all to fight over. But
right. It's like somebody didn't quite do it the way somebody else would have liked, and therefore, it is, like you said, it is what it is. And
look, the more it goes on, the more we experience this stuff, the more and more I'm like, I don't even want to be on social media. I don't want to weigh in on anything. I don't want to talk to anything to anyone about anything. I would call it whatever you will. It is a morbid kind of sense of sense of a way to be.
Right.
But I think he did things the right way, man. He kept his illness to himself. Right. He allowed himself to work. He worked very hard. So he's got a sizable legacy. I was very surprised to see just how many movies he had out, a lot of which I'd seen. And sometimes because I didn't know who he was at the time, because that's how we base our awareness of things, off of fame. And, you're not going to notice someone until someone says it's important that you notice someone. Right.
And he's someone who's funny too, because he's an actor, for me, being a sports fan, when he started in 42, played Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson was this iconic figure in the sports world because he broke the color barrier in baseball. So he got cast as Jackie Robinson, and then we didn't quite hear from him too much. At least I didn't. He was never really on my radar again until he got cast as Black Panther, and now he became like this go-to iconic. Like, if you're gonna portray someone of iconic fame in the African American, world, I guess he seemed to be like the go-to guy for that, and he always pulled it off with amazing grace. And
but you don't give away your information. You don't tell people what state of your health you are in, because they're just going to do the wrong things with that information. And they're going to. I mean, he saved himself months of people speculating, well, is he going to be able to continue as Black Panther? Are they going to replace him? It's just for the best that he kept it. He kept his personal life to himself, and that's that goes without saying with the rest of social media. It's like a lot of this stuff, like a lot of the trouble that a lot of people get into on a regular basis, would be mitigated if they just didn't weigh in on as many things as people weigh in on.
Yep.
Especially considering how ignorant a lot of people are about what they weighing in on in the first place. Like you talk about, like if Rogue Wave weighed in on cancer research because of some clickbait article we read, we would be probably pretty ignorant about whatever we weighed in on, and it would be based off of emotion, or it would be based off of some kind of trend at the moment, and we'd be completely out of our depth in discussing it, and we would have earned whatever rebuke we got, and then ultimately it would have just been better off had we not done that, So
ultimately, isn't that the answer? Just don't press send.
Yeah.
In the immortal words of Herm Edwards, don't press send.
Don't hit send. Yeah.
We promise, obviously wanted to talk about it. We want to pay tribute to him. He was, he brought an iconic character to life, to the mainstream, in a way that we haven't seen before. He brought dignity and class in the way he handled everything. So we want to pay tribute to him. And we hope we did him justice in that sense, and truly a sad loss.
We did the best we could because we just told everybody how we felt about him. I mean,
yeah.
That's all we could really do.
Yeah, no, that's all you can really do. All right, we promise we're not. This is actually just a juxtaposition where, months ago maybe we could have spent even more time. Maybe we would have done a retro review of Black Panther, but we had new content and we want to get to it. We have Bill and Ted, Face the Music. We have New Mutants. I'm going to let Hassan pick which one he wants to dive into first when we come back.
Welcome to Button Stash, the show about the best mustaches in gaming.
Casey, it's Button Smash. It's the new gaming podcast from the Rogue Matter Network. I don't know where you got mustaches from.
Well, I'm not shaving. But we will talk about gaming news, reviews, inside scoops, and retrospectives.
Join us live on twitch.tv/WeAreRogueMatter on Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, or download our episodes wherever you listen to your podcast.
But please, Casey, shave.
Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast, talking comics, movies, TV, and pop culture every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern on Facebook.com/Rogue Wave Podcast. Go to RogueWavePodcast.com to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. That's Wave without an E in both cases. And check out Button Smash. You saw the commercial. It's the newest podcast to join the Rogue Matter Podcast Network. They stream live every Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern on Twitch.tv/WeAreRogueMatter. And they just had Chad Michael Collins, who was a guest on our show. He actually voices one of the characters in Call of Duty, did a whole episode with them. It's pretty awesome. You can go to youtube.com/RogueMatter, and you can check out some of the replays after it's over. Join the movement. Go Rogue. All right, we are back. And Hassan, I'm going to throw this out to you. We're shifting gears a little bit here. We did not just one. We got two bits of content. I hate calling it this now. We got two new movies that actually came our way that, fit into our wheelhouse, and they couldn't space this out for us, but it is what it is. Which one do you want to dive into first?
We could do New Mutants first, I suppose.
Oh boy! All right, I was gonna go the other. So we're gonna get the bad news out of the way. Is that what it is? Ooh.
No, you spoilers.
Spoiler. All right.
I was trying to be a little more discreet about it, but yeah.
Here's the funny thing. I'm going to be not a Debbie Downer on either of these two movies. But I want to get your take. We were talking off air about New Mutants. Now, first of all, just to give everyone a little history on New Mutants, this movie was supposed to come out in 2016. Then it got delayed because it needed to have some reshoots or not reshoots, depending on who you listen to or read. Then Fox got bought by Disney, and this movie got shelved indefinitely. It was supposed to be the start of the next X trilogy. New Mutants comes from the brain of Chris Claremont and was it Bob Wycheck, I believe?
I believe so. I do not know. I'm not.
Which, by the way, his name was misspelled in the credits.
Yes. Yes.
That's
so.
You wait your whole life to create something that can be seen A, on a big screen, and B, then they get your name wrong. Good job, Fox/Disney. And but it really, I think there's two claims of fame for the New Mutants. One for the actual content, which would be the Bill Sienkiewicz run with Chris Claremont, the Demon Bear Saga, which is what this is loosely framed around.
Yes,
the way I can put that. It's not based off of it. It's not adapted by. It's just framed around. And then the other thing was introducing the world to Rob Liefeld, who jumped onto New Mutants at the tail end of the series when he introduced Cable, he introduced Deadpool. He took characters like Cannonball and kind of gave him new looks. Roberto, Sunspot. He gave these
just before it got spun off into X-Force.
Correct. So he kind of took the New Mutants, which was the lowest selling X title at the time, and turned it into like the biggest. That being said, this movie has nothing to do with Liefeld's run. I just wanted to kind of give you a little history. Again, it kind of focuses on the early years Cannonball, Sam Guthrie, to me, is one of my favorite X characters. I always loved it when they actually kind of took him out of X-Force and graduated him to X-Men, because I always thought he should have been an X-Man at some point. He seemed to be the character that just kind of grew the most. I like what Hickman's doing with him now in the New Mutants book that they have out there as well too, where I guess he's off to space. He married someone out, although he was always a Boom Boom in the comics, so I'm not sure what happened with that romance. But this particular film, though, again,
well, that was in the second iteration of it.
Yeah,
the original iteration, he was chasing Magic around, Ilana
right.
around. I mean, they were all bouncing around from character to character, with the exception of Renee or Rain and Doug Cypher, who the poor Doug Cypher, the only mutant in entire Marvel history to ever die and stay dead for the most part.
No, he's alive now. No, he's alive. He's been alive for years now.
In the reiteration.
Right. He's alive and well. He's actually
in its reiteration.
They wanted to have in this movie, but they didn't quite do that.
Yeah, Douglock, which is pretty horrible.
Well, they don't call him that anymore. And actually,
they also kill off Warlock.
Hickman right now has made him one of the pivotal characters because of his ability to translate. I guess he can talk to any kind of creature and decipher any kind of language, and that's his mutant ability. Which again, in battle, is the worst thing you can possibly have, because you might as well not have any mutant powers.
What I mean is the original run. The original run of the New Mutants, all the way up until it stopped and became X-Force.
Right,
he had been dead and stayed dead.
Yes, no, he was gone. Warlock was gone. They killed him in the Extinction Agenda.
He died in the Extinction Agenda. Yeah.
Essentially, what we're doing here, if anyone doesn't realize, is we are stalling as much to talk about all the good for New Mutants. That's not actually in the movie. But here's my take on the movie. Right. It
was created by Chris Claremont and Bob McLeod.
Oh, Bob McLeod. Okay, that's it. Wycheck was the inker, I think. But
I do not have that information.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? I think I went into this because it was so maligned, and then I read reviews about it. I mean, The Beat gave it like 4 out of 10. The Post, the New York Post, is the hometown paper that I read. They really lambasted it. They did not give it a very high mark whatsoever. I went in with Van Helsing expectations. Van Helsing is the famous Hugh Jackman movie that was so critically panned that when I finally got around to watching it, I was like, this is pretty good. It's like, it wasn't that bad, because my expectations were lowered so much. My expectations were lowered because of the stop, start. We're going to put this on the movie calendar. We're finally going to see it in April, and then COVID hits, and we don't know what's going to happen. And then it gets pushed into August, and you go, well, that's not going to really happen. But hey, it did. It actually happened, and we got to see it. So, because of all this, I kind of sat there going, I was waiting for a movie to be really bad. It wasn't good, but it wasn't bad. It was one of those things where if you just didn't make it part of the X-Men universe, and they kind of didn't as much as they could, they did mention the X-Men once and how they want to be X-Men, and just made it a horror movie instead of kind of flirting with being a horror movie, I think it would have been a lot more effective. But to your point, which you made off air, the twist of the movie doesn't help us comic book fans who already know the twist, right?
There's a number of things that are kind of off about it, and unfortunately, I can't be a viewer who has no knowledge of what I'm watching. I can't understand how someone who didn't know the New Mutants would enjoy the comic book in itself. There's a lot of stuff that I just found distasteful about it, because as a fan of the New Mutants, that just didn't land right. And then there's that kind of 90s-ish, empowerment doctrines and stuff like that you have to go through. Watching certain characters come into their own, that just to me always read very hollow. It's like nobody stops and profiles before they're about to go do something heroic or important. you know?
Yeah.
And if we could just get some more realism in that aspect, it would be better. But
You're talking about the scene where Magic is about to jump into the portal.
That also Sunspot, you know, there's certain other things. I don't really want to give too many spoilers away.
You can do it. It's okay. At this point,
no, I don't. I don't want to do it.
Okay.
I just personally just don't want to do that. But it doesn't matter. The movie in and of itself, and this is what the problem is with a lot of these movies, and this is always what the Fox situation, the Fox brand, it's always been their problem. This sounds counterintuitive. It doesn't seem like it makes any sense, but it totally does. All of them approach their superhero stories as though the powers are the characters.
Right.
The characters are the characters. You know?
Mm-hmm.
You pretty much have to do these stories, as Marvel has taught us, as though they had no powers. You know? That they're actual characters. And then every time something terrible jumps off, these people could do astonishing things. Mm-hmm. How many times you watch Captain America and you're like, oh, yeah, Captain America's got super strength, or yeah, he could jump out of a plane, because they don't talk about that until he does something. Right. You know, you got in Winter Soldier, you got the entire conversation between him and Black Widow about who he should date or whatever, and then he just casually jumps out of a plane, right, without a parachute, and then someone says, "Did he have a chute on?" And the other guy goes, "No, he didn't." So all right, that right then and there, that's an indication of, oh yeah, by the way, you know, pay attention, because this guy could do stuff that normal people can't do. But for the most part, he's a genuine three-dimensional character. Right. New Mutants, none of those characters was genuinely three-dimensional. All of their problems with every single character had the same problem. You know? Right. They all didn't want to be at that place. They all didn't want to face the music as to whatever it was that was ailing them in the first place. There was not a lot of deep discussion about exactly where they were, why there was no one else on the staff except for the doctor, why there was, you know, why the doctor displays that she has mutant powers herself, but they never talk about it. Right. You know, it never comes up, and then they actually play that as though it's a reveal. Mm-hmm. Towards the end, when she starts using the powers against the students, or the incarcerees, or whatever you want to call them, and I'm going, well, we already saw her use these powers, so why are you revealing that as though that is that is some kind of plot twist? There are just things that were structurally wrong with the story. If they had stopped trying to be so tongue in cheek, mystery box, and just told you a straight out story, and then got into the backgrounds of each one of these characters as though they were three-dimensional, genuine characters who didn't want to be where they are, you know, and then put the mutant aspect of them as dead last, you know, until something terrible happens and they all have to find a way to rise to the occasion. You would at least had a story that was interesting to watch. But as you and I were saying earlier, if you know the New Mutants, you know what all the plot twists are going to be. Right. You know exactly what the problem is as soon as the problem starts, right? You know with these characters, you know, like, you know, there's a sequence where Danielle's running around and there's a wolf running after her, and she kind of takes notice of the wolf, right? But then, you know, first of all, that's a wolf, you know, like, it's not a casual thing. Second of all, okay, you know, 5 minutes later, you see Maisie Williams and she's talking to her, right? And everybody who's with the material, the source material, like, it's almost, you know, as if they're expecting a pat on the back for just visually putting characters you grew up reading on screen. Which was my original complaint about the first X-Men, Bryan Singer's X-Men. Like, they were the fact that they actually all these characters on celluloid, you know, in a movie context, that they didn't really care whether the story made any sense or not. It doesn't make sense to me, because but the difference between 2020 years ago and now, and this is why it makes it worse for New Mutants. Well, not for me. I'm just talking in general. No. And I'm just saying it makes it worse for New Mutants is because we now, you know, look, in 2000 you did deserve a pat on the back just for getting the look of Wolverine right on screen. Okay, I mean, like, you actually did, because that never, you know, you just didn't have that kind of. I didn't care. I was like, no, just give me a decent story. Stop with the. No, I agree. But my point being is that 20 years ago, just getting the X-Men on screen was an accomplishment.
20
I
years
know
now,
how you feel.
20 years later now,
dis-
you have the entire Marvel universe on screen. You
I know
don't
how you
get
feel.
points
I
for
just
just putting
disagree
stuff
with
up
you.
there.
I know. I disagree with you. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. What's astonishing to me is if you do it in a manner that is surprising to the fans.
Yeah.
If you do the source material in a manner that's surprising to the fans while staying faithful, you will accomplish both surprising the fans and brand new viewers. You know, but
Yeah.
there's an immediate conceit that well, the people who are familiar with the source material, the inherited audience of this, they're going to be the smallest percentage of our audience.
Right.
So we have to make this appeal to the non-fans, right? But if you just find a clever way of doing it, you could appeal to both people. Because
Ironically,
I'll go in.
manages to do that, which is a character that spun out of the original New Mutants comics. So Deadpool, my original fear for Deadpool was that it stuck too close to the comics and too close to what the smaller fandom at large kind of was expecting, but they managed to do it in a way of what you're describing, you know?
Yeah.
So, all right, let's round it off, Hassan. Yay, nay, or meh for New Mutants?
It was a meh. Wasn't a terrible movie.
Also.
But
wasn't
I mean,
horrible.
it you know, I could have not seen it, you know?
Right.
I came out of it with the same attitude as I had when I went into it, you know?
Yeah.
Didn't move the needle too much.
I will say this. I like the chemistry that those actors had together. I like the chemistry that the characters displayed together. It's a shame.
You can chalk that up to acting, though. You know,
yeah. Of course,
the dialogue,
I do. I'm just saying.
The dialogue did not serve them at all, especially when you know, I don't understand that aspect of when you get to a point where someone has to do something heroic, or you know, when you have that character building moment, and then they all have to start profiling and you know, cracking wise and being obnoxious all of a sudden. I don't understand that. That's a moment for everybody because the audience. Hopefully the audience has rarely has any kind of context to relate to being attacked by a giant demon bear, right? So
you gotta be funny. The audience wants funny, Hassan. We need
funny
to be
is fine. Funny is fine. Obnoxious is not.
I'm saying that tongue in cheek. Taking that's I'm pretending to be a studio executive. They want funny. Audiences want funny.
Yeah.
Gotta have humor.
Well.
What I was going to say, though, is it's a shame
Studio
because the
execs don't know what the
chemistry
hell
that
they're
they
doing.
had, the chemistry that the actors did have, was enough to me where I sat there going, okay, this was a sputtered takeoff, but I'd go and watch another movie and see how they do in the second film. Unfortunately, all the actors are now 45 years old, and it's just not going to work. They're not going to be able to bring them together again. So, you know, this is all we get.
They honestly never even explain who Elise was, the character, the doctor. Elise
Celia Reyes is based off an X character, yes. Who's, by the way, a good guy in the
But that's what I'm saying.
That's the one thing I dislike a lot too about the Fox X-Men trilogies is that they would just change things for no reason.
Yeah, they don't give a damn about the source material.
We're allowed to use. So we need someone who's going to be a bad doctor. So we're going to take someone who in the comics is nothing but a good doctor who's a healer, and we're going to stick her as this because
they've never given a damn about the source material. The source material is just fodder so that they can make their high budget movie, and whatever.
Yep. Well, all right.
As long as the character isn't Wolverine.
Comment on the Facebook feed. We also are on youtube.com/Rogue Matter, so comment in that Facebook feed, in that comment feed as well too. We'll get back to you again, whether you're listening to us live or you are listening to us in podcast form. You can jump on and we will respond. Let us know what you thought. New Mutants, yay, nay, or meh? Are you just excited that it existed and it was real as opposed to a figment of everyone's imagination for the past 4 years? Let us know. We would love to hear from you. All right, when we come back, Bill and Ted face the music.
With a cape. No, anything. Yeah. Cape is always crazy. Cape is always crazy. Look, there are clowns walking the streets right now.
Right now.
There is no one dressed in a cape.
Rogue Wave Podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. Streaming every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on Facebook.com/Rogue Wave Podcast and available immediately following the live stream wherever major podcasts can be found. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast, talking comics, movies, TV, and pop culture every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on Facebook.com/Rogue Wave Podcast. That's Wave without an E. Subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts. Go to RogueWavePodcast.com. Here's the cool thing. I mean, we got not just one movie, but two movies that actually came out. One, you had to go to theaters to see, and that's an experience unto itself. The other, you can choose to sit at home and watch. I got to tell you, I missed being in the theater for Bill and Ted. I watched it on my phone.
You watched it on your phone. That's probably why.
Just because I'm on vacation, so it's not my house. Got to watch it where I can watch it. Ended up watching it on my phone. I missed the experience of being in the theater for this. I really did. I watch streaming shows on my phone, which are essentially 10-hour movies. But there's something about watching episodic TV that it's not that big of a deal to watch on a phone, at least in my head. But for a theater experience, I actually have to kind of agree with Christopher Nolan. Like, there are just some films, not that Bill and Ted necessarily is this film, but to me there was a noticeable, like, gee, I'm watching this. There was something noticeable in my head as I'm watching this, knowing this was the quote unquote opening weekend, and here I am sitting on a couch at the Jersey Shore, holding my phone up to my face and consuming it that way, and legally, and I paid my $25 for it. But I miss the theater, so that's really just an ode to theater experience. I hope we can get back to that in a semi safe and normal way. I know theaters are opening up, and there will be some films that we can watch in theaters down the line, which is great. But in this particular case, I did miss it. That being said, yes, I'm not going to tell you that it wasn't great that, I was able to just kind of click buy on iTunes and I got it, So it's definitely something to that. I don't understand the rent buy option when it comes to these video on demand things. Like, I'm sitting there going, all right, for $5 more, I guess I own it now. Why?
Yeah, but you have to always keep using that platform in order to get your money's worth.
Sure.
And so, personally, I don't trust the viability, the long-term viability of all these platforms.
I just don't.
I don't. Like 20 years from now, am I going to get my $20 worth?
20 is that's a big rental number to know that you can't access it again. Do you know what I mean? Like, again, do I anticipate ever watching Bill and Ted Face the Music ever again? No, probably not. But at least I sit there and I'm like, all right, at least I've got it. It's in my library if I want to.
You didn't like it? You're saying?
No, I liked it. And we'll get into what I did. I'm just saying, before I even saw the movie, there's the buy option and then there's the rent option. And I'm sitting there going, the rent option is $20. Like, if the rent option was $5, I'd be like, boom, give me $5. I'll rent it for $5. The buy option was $24.99. And I sat there for the same thing.
That price tag is ridiculous.
For $5. Well, what's funny, though? Again, this is another shout out to James Massia of Plan 59. Coming to Kickstarter September 8th. He actually said to me, he goes, Mike, because I said the same thing. I was texting him. I'm like, yeah, it's terrible. He goes, Mike, if I wanted to go with my family, it would be $45 plus concession fees. Like, a family of 4 to go to the movie theaters is almost $50. And he goes, I get to rent movies right now, or I get to watch movies for $20. So he's actually saving money in that sense. So it's interesting. Obviously, if you're single or you're married without kids. No, I mean, if you, think about it, you're going to take a date to a movie. I mean, you're looking at a $30 price tag to go do that if you're going to pay for your significant other or they're going to pay for you. So when you think about it that way, it's not.
Yeah, but whenever you parse that and you say, well, I would be, if I was dealing with these inflated prices on the, in the open market as opposed to dealing with these inflated prices in my home, then I would be getting screwed.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't change the fact that the prices are inflated in and of themselves.
Well, yeah.
It just alters the value of the inflation.
Right.
But it still doesn't address the fact that that there's inflation in the first place. That you're being gouged no matter what.
Right.
So.
Yeah. No. Gouged
with respect
to just everything.
With respect to James,
more
I disagree. I respectfully disagree.
So. I'll kick this one off. I am always man enough to say when I was wrong about something, right? I went out there and I said Deadpool was going to be a colossal failure, which in turn made it a colossal success. I've gone on and said,
Oh, you did that. That's
certain
you.
movies are going to be colossal successes, and they turn out to be colossal failures. So you kind of see where this is going, right? The teaser trailer came out for Bill and Ted, and you can go on record. You can go check out our library of podcasts. Go to Spotify.
I remember what you said.
Delivery method of choice. And I kind of sat there saying, I felt really sad. Like it just.
I believe I argued with you about that.
It made me sad.
I was right.
Maybe it was the fact that I had been braced for it by seeing trailers. And so I was able to process the actors they've gotten older. Or maybe it was just because I actually saw a movie rather than a trailer.
Yeah, you just don't like old people. You're always complaining about old people. You're always
I was smiling throughout this film. I was actually, it got me excited. It was actually, as opposed to the teaser trailer, a treat to kind of see Keanu Reeves go back and be Bill and Ted again. And
so wait, are you saying you should see the material before you drop a snap judgment on it? Usually. Is that what you're saying?
I did see the material that they presented to us, which was the teaser trailer.
You should see the full, and then you judge the trailer. Is it a good trailer or not a good trailer? But
But I also make predictions sure to go wrong. And really,
well, okay. Hold on, I'm following your narrative, right?
Yes.
You're saying you were wrong. So
yes.
in following the
but I don't like the way you're saying it.
I know that's
you're saying it in a way that I don't approve.
Yeah, because I'm being intellectually honest about it, and you're being intellectually dishonest about it. Yeah, I am.
You're being a jerk, is what you're being.
But that's
usual sarcastic little.
That's me being intellectually honest. I'm not
down that route.
I'm not gonna say, hey man, you were right. Don't worry about it. When we had an argument about that at the time, when I said, well, why don't we just wait until.
You are relishing the comeuppance. Of
course I am. Why wouldn't I? That's being intellectually honest. I don't understand. I don't get your point.
Okay, I'm just saying. You're
I'm being totally honest about it.
I don't appreciate that when I.
Accurate.
I was not. Well, no, accurate's the wrong word. I was not.
Don't engineer
I was
conflict.
Wrong in the end, which very rarely happens, and in fact.
Oh my God!
I can probably say that I was correct because.
Oh my God! Here we go.
But anyway, I was not sad throughout this movie.
That is presidential logic, there, my friend. That is very
enjoying the film. It's not rocket science. It's not Citizen Kane. It was just Bill and Ted, kind of
wasn't supposed to be
gleefully going into the future consistently to find the song that was going to unite humanity. And without giving away the ending, we're trying to be spoiler-free, I guess, because you set the pattern. I'm not sure why, but that's okay.
You don't got to follow my pattern. I just didn't want to be a jerk.
The issue, of course, is what is the song going to be, and they kind of address it in a way that, while leaves you a little kind of like, leaves you a little meh at the end, it also kind of answers the question without having to ruin it, because there's no one genre of song that I think is going to unite humanity, which is kind of what they kind of said and how they kind of went about doing it. So you do get to learn about the song. You do get to learn how it unites humanity. You do get the question answered. So it's not a fruitless experiment.
That is kind of a spoiler, though. You did just kind of spoil it. So
but I don't say how it happens. I'm just saying you will get an answer.
You pretty much tell everybody that they actually achieved the goal that they were trying to achieve, which is
not a spoiler, though, because I don't tell you how it's going to happen.
Nobody really cares how. They want to know if, not how.
No, they want to know how.
No. That's not where the tease is, but okay, never mind.
I wanted to know how. That was the tease for me.
Yeah, well, that's you.
That was the tease for me. Well, that's why I gave you my non-spoiler review, which was a non-spoiler for me.
It wasn't, for you. Okay, yeah. And then you wonder why.
In the teaser trailer, they had that awful scene where they see themselves in the future as like big muscle guys. In the film, by that point, I'm just rollicking along joyfully to the point where I'm like, yeah, this is pretty fun. Like, this is just like every
step of that. As I suspected you would be.
Every step. What's that?
As I suspected you would be,
Look at you.
As I suspect, no, not you. Who cares about you? I'm just talking about in general.
Oh, okay.
You're taking an absurd movie,
yes,
because the entire premise is absurd, and you're taking it piece by piece and you're going, well, those scenes really don't make any sense, or that doesn't look,
Mhm.
then you're not understanding the point of it. It's supposed to be absurd. If you are familiar with the source material,
Of
then
course.
you understand. Okay, that's the same as the obnoxious, refrigerator logic of Indiana Jones. The nuke the fridge argument. Like, yeah, taken alone, if you've never seen an Indiana Jones film before, and someone says, "Oh yeah," and then he gets in his fridge and he survives a nuclear explosion, you'd be like, "Well, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard." But if you take it into context with the other 4 movies,
Correct.
the other 3 movies, then you're like, "Oh, well, that
You and I
sounds like
actually
Indiana
agree on
Jones."
that. Right. You and I
Yeah,
actually agree on that.
So that's what
It
I'm
was the
talking
monkeys
about.
that ruined that movie.
Even the monkeys, as dumb as they are within canon, because there's a
Yes.
lot of stupid things that have. If you take that minecart chase in Temple of Doom,
Which was
is
awesome.
completely physically absurd, of course it was awesome. But that was because
But that was the difference
we
between
were-
the monkeys and the
no, it's because we were young and we were like, all right, sometimes you're going to have a mine car that, that has a loop in it. And, of course, all mine cars are going over oceans of lava. That
Right.
makes perfect sense. Yeah, no, bull.
And the video
Oh.
game, man, that video game, Temple Doom video game, oh, so good.
Okay,
I used to
anyway,
pop a lot of quarters in that one.
fair enough.
Some of our audience is like,
Sounds-
what's
Sounds like fun.
what's an arcade? What do you mean you put
You didn't
money-
even say the word arcade. You said video game.
Right,
So now they're saying arcade. What
Right.
the hell's an arcade?
right. Well, look at
Nice-
you. You're
nice
very
Nice job.
you're very
I'm
I
paying
stand
attention.
corrected mode today.
I'm just paying attention to you.
You should be more sluggish. More often.
Yeah, okay.
You're
Now,
wiser.
you know what? This
Did you-
is a change in our dynamic because I'm gonna be like this from now on. I'm gonna be like, no, that is wrong, sir. I'm gonna fact check you every time
This
you
is
say
vacation mode, Mike. So this is much different. Now, what
yeah.
was your take? Did you enjoy as much as
Of course I
absolutely
enjoyed it. I absolutely enjoyed it. There are aspects of it that I think are a little uneven, whatever. But how you gonna jump on a Bill and Ted? We weren't supposed to have this movie.
Right.
30 years later, you get a Bill and Ted movie. It's not supposed to happen. It's not supposed to be good. It's not supposed to be interesting.
Right.
It's supposed to become passé and irrelevant. It's supposed to be one of those situations where everybody goes, well, are they actually serious about trying to recapture the nostalgia of Bill and Ted? Are they serious about this? And look, some of it might be because of our circumstances, our COVID circumstances.
Well, I was going to ask you that
Everybody's
question. That was my
100%
my next question.
open to
Right.
100% open to the idea of something new. It's also a very hopeful film,
Yes.
which is rare,
Which was a
that we
breath of
get
fresh
these
air.
days.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, it's arguably, I don't like the term. I don't like to use this term. It's arguably a step down for Keanu Reeves, who's had like billion-dollar blockbuster movies such as the Matrix trilogy, such as the John Wick phenomenon in the
Right.
Keanu-sans that we're living in now.
Mhm.
So he did not have to make this movie.
No.
He made this movie because he wanted to make this movie.
Correct.
Right? So he goes back to his roots, because he got
Happy birthday,
famous
Keanu,
from
by the way.
he got famous from Bill and Ted. That was
Mm-hmm.
that was among the earlier movies that started making him become a household name.
Right.
And he did credit to himself as a character. Jonathan Winter stepped up to the plate. He was just as
Alex
potent
Winters?
on the screen. No, the same guy. Same guy. It's
Not-
the same guy.
Not so fun on the other end of these I stand corrected things.
But that
Platform,
happens all the
podium.
time. I'm not, but I'm not embarrassed about it, because I'm
Because
a
we can't see
normal
your
human
eyes.
being.
You're crying
Huh?
underneath there.
Yes, I am. I'm in tears. Anyway, so Alex Winter is just every bit as potent and every bit as present, and he doesn't seem like he's trailing behind. They didn't give him less to do as like a kind of a nod to what came before. A lot of people talking about him like he's not the big star that Keanu is, but he's also a producer and a director. So
Yeah.
it's not like he's not a figure.
I
in the
was
Hollywood
reading up
scene.
on him actually, and he talks about being sexually abused in Hollywood as a kid. I mean, he talks about he actually
some bad stuff.
pulled himself out of acting for this exact reason, and he's like, I prefer to be behind the camera. He's like, I don't really want to be in front of the camera anymore. He has this whole book out. It's actually it was a really interesting read about his history.
Yeah. So it was
Again, not to be
probably like
downer
a
on
little bit of a struggle for him
Yeah.
to do it. So it was really great. Their daughters were fantastic.
I really liked them, and I was gonna. That was my second.
Hugo
question
Weaving's
for you.
niece, which was interesting.
What's
Hugo Weaving's niece plays Bill's daughter. So now you got Mr. Anderson and
Gotcha.
Agent Smith. So
Gotcha.
that's kind of a nostalgia nod.
Yeah.
Yeah, you often don't see movies about father-daughter relationships. It doesn't happen that often, so that was pretty cool.
I also kind of enjoyed the fact. At first, I wasn't sure about them basically kind of being like, because I felt like it was a sequel trope to basically make them exactly like Bill and Ted. But they're just so. It's just like it's such an amicable personality to be, to kind of exhibit that you just can't help but kind of root for them too. My only nitpick in the band that they go out to create is what they couldn't find someone to play John Bonham. Like, didn't make sense to me. You have the greatest drummer, Neil Peart. Now he passed away this year, so it might have been too soon. But you could have gotten Neil Peart too. Neil Peart's the greatest drummer of all time, or John Bonham. Those are my only, that's you're forming the greatest band of all time. I mean, Neil Peart is probably the most technically proficient drummer that we've ever seen.
Couldn't have, but I mean, it wouldn't make sense as a time travel movie to have every icon that you get together from the same era,
No, I understand that, but that's my...
So, I mean, it just obnoxiously would not be... It just wouldn't make any sense. It would be a misutilization of the time travel, backdrop of the story.
It didn't make sense also, too, because anyway. Neil Peart. Greatest drummer. No, you're not getting any arguments, right? John Bonham, I'll accept John Bonham, but that he's a different sound.
I respect the fact that that's your opinion, so you're allowed to be as wrong about that as you want.
Mike,
anyway,
who's your top drummer of all time?
My top drummer of all time.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite drummer. Now, are you asking who my favorite drummer is, or are you asking who I think the greatest drummer in the world is?
The greatest drummer in the world.
I think I don't know. That's like asking who the greatest bassist in the world is.
The answer is Neil Peart. It's easy. An
Neil
acceptable
Peart
second answer is see, here's the thing, right? You can like Dave Grohl more than Neil Peart.
Peart never played the bass, though. So
no, not the bass. I'm not asking you about the bass. I'm asking about the drum.
I know, but you messed that up. So I'm there to take advantage of it.
I'm just saying.
I'm
Dave Grohl. You could like Dave Grohl as a drummer more. You could like Matt Cameron as a drummer more. But you also will recognize that as it is amongst all.
Do you know who Buddy Rich is?
He just is.
Do you know who Buddy Rich is?
Yes, I do know Buddy Rich.
Okay, have you heard his playing?
Yes, he's amazing, and in fact, Neil Peart does reference him. But Buddy Rich was not lowered into his drum kit every night, so
So that has nothing to do with talent. You're just talking about spectacle. You're just slavishly adhering to spectacle, and you're not talking about talent.
I would accept Buddy Rich because he was the inspiration, but Neil Peart is by far better.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, by your definition, so is Tommy Lee, because he was in a drum set that
he's not actually as good.
Spun 365 degrees. No, who's to say?
I am.
Who's to say? The spectacle is better, right?
Neil Peart is better. Neil Peart is better.
Which is why this discussion is asinine in and of itself. Anyway,
it's just it's a given. Go.
Yeah, dude. I get you. I understand what you're saying. You're manufacturing yet another conflict, but you're absolutely dead wrong.
Not being right all the time. That's why I gotta throw you a bone and admitted at least one.
Throw me a bone for being right. Like, I don't have to fight to be right in this.
Good about yourself.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Otherwise, being right.
You help me. You help me feel good about myself. Gotcha.
It's boring after a while.
Anyway. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Yay, nay, or meh?
I don't care anymore.
That's always your response. You're always like, you're the take the ball and go home guy. No one likes that guy.
I don't want to play with you anymore guy. I'll stay in the playground and play with the other kids.
Because a lot of people took their ball away from me. And
yeah, maybe there's a reason for that. I thought it was yay. It was a yay.
I'm going yay also. I know, but I want definitively, one day I'll make
whatever.
We'll have a
I
yay.
got
nay.
you.
All right, let us know what you think. We give it a big yay. We thought it was great. A lot of fun, nostalgic. Not even just nostalgic. It was, it was a perfect film, especially considering the times we live in. Ironically, yeah, I'll get to that next segment. Yeah. Tell us what you think. Comment on the Facebook feed. When we come back, we go spinning the racks. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast. We are big fan boys of comics and graphic novels, and every week I like to bring you the inside info on the source material that will make its way onto the small screen or keep you up to date on what is going on in the comic book world. We call this segment Spinning the Racks.
Spin the rack, spin that rack.
All right, this one's actually more. This has comic books in it, but it's also more movie-ish as well too. DC Fandom drew 22 million views and may return. This is from The Beat. Again, I was gonna put this in the Rogue Rage, but quite frankly, I wanted to kind of leave Rogue Rage just for the Chadwick Boseman. So instead, we're doing this out of respect into our Spin the Rack segment. Some gaudy numbers were revealed. 22 million views around the world, including across 220 countries and territories over its 24-hour run via the in-house player, live streams by comic book influencers, and other content generated by fans watching the event. The videos were shot over a 2-week period at the end of July with a rough cut delivered a week before. DC Fandom significantly raised the bar for the virtual con experience and used some very sensible production ideas like sending everyone a kit with green screens and tips for full body framing, which is a novelty in the Zoom era. There was also art direction. Here's the comic book stuff. From unified backgrounds to the Jim Lee designed Hall of Heroes virtual set. According to the article, although it was expensive, it was not as expensive as flying everyone to San Diego and putting them up at Hilton Bayfront for 3 days. So money well spent. And I want to stop right there. We'll get back to that in a second. The ultimate mark of success, they're considering doing another fandom type event again, and not just Fandom 2. I get nervous with that it was less expensive and more successful to do this virtually. That San Diego Comic-Con, as we know it, is never going to rebound from this.
No, that's not going to happen. Look, everybody's afraid. I mean, no matter how many times people try to spin the fact that this virus is not an issue and it's just a overinflated reaction to the flu season, whatever. There's a lot of people who are genuinely afraid of getting sick, right? So, and I mean that with a large percentage of the populace is genuinely afraid of getting sick, and therefore. Everybody's looking for solutions where people can actually continue to make money, whereas while still being entertained, and or people can still be entertained without getting sick, and people can still entertain without losing money, right? So right now the fervor is, how do we come together far apart? Once the situation abates itself, it'll be, how do we get back together again? And that'll be a new hysteria. So it'll be, it could be obnoxious by the time we have a vaccine, or by the time the virus passes, or whatever the situation is that finally resolves the situation. It could be virtually obnoxious how many get-together circumstances will arise.
Wow, that is where Hassan the Optimist. Hasoptimist. You're a Hasoptimist. I just coined that. That is amazing. I'm as surprised as you are, but excellent coin. I hope you're right, but the words, it cost us less and we got more. I mean, if I'm a business now, I'm sitting there going, and this was a prevailing thought also prior to COVID, though. I mean, which
could be a lie. They could be lying. That could be their signal to you that this is going to happen next year. And even though we took a hit on it, we're just, we're pioneering this, and we're gonna double down on this, even though this is not as lucrative as we had hoped it would be. So there could be a number of reasons why you're getting that reaction from them.
Well,
you know?
shout out to Emma Loggins from Fanbolt. She created Fanbolt and runs Fanbolt. It's one of the big fan driven websites. I mean, 2 years ago at San Diego. Now it's 2 years ago because it wasn't this past year because we didn't go. Obviously, her and I were talking, and she said, I think this is gonna be my last San Diego. She's like, I just think, and the buzz on the street was, and from what I'm reading as well too, well, she was saying she didn't want to go anymore because she's seen it all. She's been there. She's done that. And then in conjunction with that, some of the buzz on the street, things that I'm reading in different, trades are basically that the studios are kind of realizing that the promotion they get at Comic-Cons do not translate into actual box office dollars. So they were also pulling back. Or you had things like the Marvel, what was it, D23 that they did, right? Yeah. And the show must go on. They had things like the D23 that, was just as successful, if not more, because it was all about Marvel. So you're right. You might have an in-person gathering like DC Fandom, but it might be a DC Fandom in-person gathering with virtual components that you can, attend it virtually as well. So you get double the bang for the buck. Yeah. Whereas you would normally get Comic-Cons, you would have studios lining up to pack your convention with celebrities and announcements, and it created this air of buzz. But I don't know. That might.
Who's to say? I mean, that's the ridiculousness about this whole thing. It's like, look, until we all just stop being jerks, wear a mask, and treat this like it's a real health crisis, we're not going to get past it. Until we can get past it, we're not going to be able to live life the way we lived
I know,
before.
but I'm assuming that's going to happen. That we are going to go back. But the fact that these virtual
of course
events,
we're going to go back, but it's just a matter of when.
But I'm just saying. I think again, even if they have the in-person events, but they do a DC in-person event and Marvel in-person event, it's now going to siphon from the Comic-Con experiences. I guess my point, and that's what I'm curious about.
The Comic-Con experience is pretty much like it is a dying experience in and of itself anyway. That's why it keeps upping the ante every year. That's why it was dying out in the 90s. Which is why we started in intermixing Hollywood. Because it used to just be a comic book affair. Right. Now you get Hollywood celebrities and movies and stuff like that. Now people don't understand that because now in the age of now, comic books are Hollywood. Right. But it wasn't like that. Right. San Diego's been around way longer than the MCU. Right. So and they had to do that to up the ante so that they could continue to justify their and they continue to make the revenue. They've turned an entire town into a convention. So that is not just because of comic books. Right. It has become an entire cultural phenomenon. Right. Yeah. It became that because it had to up the ante, and has to always up the ante because the comic book comic book convention experience is a passé experience, and it ain't for everybody, right? It ain't for the faint of heart, right? So, I mean, there are probably in the aftermath of all of this going to have to come up with yet another thing that's going to instill buzz and kick people in the butt and make them take notice. It's going to happen. We'll see. But that's what business is in and of itself, isn't it?
And on that note, I will agree with you because it is up to a business to pivot. It is not up to the consumer necessarily to do it in that sense. So I don't disagree with you on that. All right. That was our show for tonight. Next week, the boys are back. Boys season 2 dropping. I think today, actually. Friday, September 4th. We will give you our semi-spoiler review next week.
Rogue Wave.